Second one would be health, because what I have seen for myself is shocking, where patients go to a health center and the nurses in attendance are just busy sending texts to other friends, or they are busy on their Facebook. This is unacceptable. And the idea of a nurse misbehaving, and instead of sending her home, they redeploy her or him to another health center is unacceptable. He or she has misbehaved in this health center. And instead of setting an example, you transfer her to another, you are transferring the problem. And this is unacceptable. I had to step in to say, especially the case of Brikama, where a woman in labor was literally appealing to the nurses on duty. And they told her that I think she was not supposed to be there. She was supposed to go to Serekunda or somewhere else. Imagine a woman in labor. Imagine your sister in labor or your mother in labor, and somebody sits there and doing nothing but sending messages on the on SMS or on Twitter or watching Facebook, and the lady delivered almost on the floor. The baby fell out, and I think she died. The baby died.
I think this was reported in one of.
It was reported. And guess what? What was the recommendation from the Ministry of Health? The case is being investigated, and the nurses concerned would be redeployed. I thought, hell no, not in my country and not under my administration, not certainly under my watchful eyes. Send them home immediately. And in fact, also, I instructed the police to investigate, because this is criminal negligence that led to the death of a young innocent infant. This is unacceptable. If you think that a baby is not a human being, you are making a huge mistake. So not only have they been dismissed, but I think now they are in the hands of the police. We're going to prosecute them to set an example. You go to RVTH before the arrival of the Syrians. The doctor on call is nowhere to be seen. In an emergency, they have to start calling here and there. This is unacceptable. Like in the military, a doctor on call is like a duty officer who is supposed to be at his station at all times, irrespective of what. Because he is the first line of defense for patients. Now you go to the RVTH, you will not find a nurse. They are somewhere doing whatever they want to do. And then the doctor on call is not there. And that is why I was obliged to transfer the RVTH under the office of the president, and not only the office, but on the State House, so that I will deal with the situation. Because can you believe that we spent a lot of money, government funds and personal funds, to make the hospital, Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, the best, not only in the Gambia, but the best in the sub-region. And I've done everything humanly possible to make sure of that. Guess what? You provide equipment and it's stolen, or it's stored somewhere and it's not maintained. It's not even being used. We had a CT scanner, and it was epileptic. Today it's good, tomorrow it's not good. We had one of the best X-ray machines in Africa. They destroyed it. And when you go for X-ray, they refer you to somewhere else, which I will not name, for X-ray and then at a cost, and then you pay. When we have provided everything. I provided 12 dialysis machines for those who have kidney problems, who require dialysis. It was very expensive. They go across to Senegal. It's very expensive. And this is something you have to do every week. And I provided, I told you I wanted as many as the hospital would need. They said they needed 4. I said, no, 4 is not enough. We put additional 4 to make it 8. I sent 4 to the AFPRC hospital. I wanted to send another 4 to Suleiman Junko Hospital. They told me that they don't have the expertise there. Fair enough. Now, you will be shocked to know that out of the 12 that have been provided, only 2 were working. And they give you the impression that these equipments are very expensive. I was shocked when I went to Taiwan and I asked. They told me it costs less than $10,000. I said, what? Dr. Mbo can bear witness. There and then I used all my money and bought that number. And we also bought again. We also bought an oxygen plant, which would have been so not only sufficient, but the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital would have been the main supplier of oxygen to all the hospitals and health centers in this country. Guess what? After 1 month, they say it has a problem. The oxygen tanks are nowhere to be found. And what I cannot understand is, you tell me that the equipment has broken down, only to go there and ask for the equipment is nowhere to be found. There was complete mayhem at the hospital, which is unacceptable. It led to the sacking of some ministers. But I think people at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, they didn't get the message. So I decided to bring it under my purview. But not only that, also to staff it with people that are ready to work. And then when the Syrians came, there was a lot of resistance. And I made it very clear to the Syrians. Don't give me names. I will know those who are behind it. But warn them that if the president decides to send anybody to jail, you cannot intervene. And you should not intervene. Some cooperated. There were a lot of resistance. Can you imagine the hospital's management spending $20,000 for coffee break during a meeting, and just $5,000 to provide something for a patient who is undergoing surgery they don't have? There was a time that even the testing tubes, they call them, for pregnant women was not even available. You go there, they tell you to refer you to a pharmacy. When you go, you find it there. And before, during the time of Dr. Gassama, I took him to Egypt and another country. And I spoke to the Egyptian minister I spoke to the president of Egypt then, President Mubarak, who is a good friend of the Gambia, who is a good friend of mine, irrespective of what position he is in. He said, don't worry, I will send you to the pharmaceutical companies. You visit their facilities, and whatever you agree with them, we will implement that. I told him, no. I will go and check their products, and we will take samples and test them. Give them to the WHO to test and see if they are of WHO standard. And if the answer is affirmative, I don't want to deal with the companies themselves, because if there's a problem, there'll be if there's a problem, if we pay and they fail to deliver, it will be very difficult for us to retrieve our money. So now what we want to do is sign with the Egyptian government, Ministry of Health, all our agreements with the pharmaceutical companies. We sign that agreement with it is government to government. So if a pharmaceutical company misbehaves, you deal with it. He said, whatever you want, that's what I will do. So we signed, and I said, okay, there's a lot of pilfering of drugs. That's one thing I want done. To put in a mark that you know that unless you are told what it is, where it is, you will not know, so that if the medicine is stolen and sent to a pharmacy, Dr. Kasama can go and stand at the pharmacy and say, this is from government company. This was going on, I thought, up to now, only to realize last year that it has been discontinued. And I regret why I didn't send that particular minister to jail instead of, but then he had long gone. Can you imagine? I want a healthy country. And if you have a healthy country, it's a wealthy country. And somebody wants to line his or her pockets at the detriment of sick people, I am not going to tolerate that. So, I was shocked. Now, most of the equipment at the Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital, I say, were obsolete. It's okay. Not only will I bring doctors, but I'll also bring biomedical engineers. Guess what? They found brand new machines, equipment that are vital for surgery and other things that can be found in any high-class hospital, lying in a store, gathering dust. And then I got word that they wanted to sell it, but the buyer asked where it was purchased from, and it was told that it was the president who went on from one of his overseas missions. He bought it, and the guy said, do you think I want to go to jail? So the guy refused to buy it. Now, as we speak, we have the biomedical engineers there fixing up this equipment. And I told the Minister of Health to go around and see for himself what is happening elsewhere. If they can misbehave just next door to State House, imagine what they will do in your village, Sintet. He went around and he was shocked with what he has seen. But he decided to warn them. I have no objections to that. But if they fail to heed his warning and the patients continue to die unnecessarily or are not attended to, his head will roll as a minister. If you look at all the ministries, the Ministry of Health has the highest turnover of dismissed ministers. And I'll continue the trend, not only health, but from now, all the ministers, if you don't want to work, go home.